For those who don't know me, I'll introduce myself, Raj Bidesi, Air Mauritius. So on behalf of Air Mauritius and in my personal name, I would like to thank you for having accepted our invitation and to be present with us tonight. I'll be your host tonight and I'll guide you through as we go along. First, we'll have a presentation, then followed by a press conference. In the meantime, our friends from the travel trade can go down and have a cocktail. Members of the press, you'll stay here for the press conference. After that, we'll join the travel trade for a cocktail, followed by dinner. And after the cocktail, before the dinner, we'll also have a lucky draw. So we'll see who will be getting the prize. Before I start, let me introduce you people on the panel. We'll start with Mr. Raj Dinanath, Vice President, Sales and Distribution, Air Mauritius. Mr. Warren Bacchus, Food and Beverage Manager, La Bourdonnais. Mr. Donald Tan, Vice President, Airline Development Division, Changi Airport from Singapore. And of course, Mr. Derek Shanks, I think everybody knows him now, by now. Chief Commercial Officer, Mauritius. We also have among us Mr. Prakash Rai, somewhere here. You can introduce yourself. Prakash Rai, our regional manager based in Singapore. So without any further ado, I'll leave the floor for the panel. And we'll start with Mr. Raj Dinanath. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this product presentation of Singapore. We started our operations to Singapore in 1985. That's more than 25 years ago. In fact, Singapore is one of the first destinations that we operated to in Southeast Asia and Far East. So it's more than 20 years that we've been operating there now. And at that time, when we introduced that flight, the idea was basically to also encourage tourists from there to come to Mauritius. But when we launched that flight, it created new traffic from Mauritius and the neighboring islands to go to Singapore. At that time, people were there basically for shopping because it was duty-free, and there was a big craze about travel to Singapore at that time. So it's more than 25 years now that we've been operating to Singapore, and Singapore has always remained in our route network, even though recently we undertook a route rationalization exercise, but we kept Singapore in our network. And as you know now, we have only one frequency a week operating on Sunday to Singapore via Kuala Lumpur. But apart from this flight on Monday to Singapore, we also have two flights via Kuala Lumpur on Wednesdays and Fridays. So it was high time to relaunch Singapore in the Mauritius market because we've seen that recently the traffic to Singapore has gone down a bit. There are many reasons for this. I won't go into these reasons, but despite fluctuating demand, there was a high time now to relaunch the destination. And when to do this, we contacted Changi Airport authorities to come and do a presentation here. And I'm glad that they responded favorably to our invitation, and we are all now here. A high-level delegation from Changi Airport has come, and we are looking forward to their presentation about Singapore, what are the new features of Singapore as a destination, and also Changi Airport. What are the latest developments in terms of infrastructure at Changi Airport? So that's it. Now, let me give you some figures about traffic on the Singapore route. Out of all the passengers that travel on Singapore route, Mauritius, as an area of sale, contribute around 50% of the total traffic. In 2011, we had around 9,500 Mauritian residents traveling to Singapore. In 2012, this number increased to around 10,300 Mauritian residents traveling to Singapore. So Singapore is still a very popular destination, and as you know, Singapore is also very popular for its food. So that's why we also combine this product presentation with a food festival. And here we wish to thank La Bourdonnais Hotel for having collaborated with us in order to organize this Singapore Food Festival, which will go on for 1 week. And tonight, through the network dinner that we are going to, all of you will be invited to, you will be able to have a taste of Singapore cuisine. So we are looking forward to that presentation, and I'm very sure that after the presentation you will have a good update on the new features of Singapore as a destination, and this will help to give a boost to selling of this destination in the Mauritius market. So as my colleague Raj said, at the dinner we are going to have a lucky draw, and some wonderful prizes are waiting for us, and all of you don't forget to put your cards in the magic ball from which we'll make the lucky draw. But this prize competition is only for all other people apart from staff of the Mauritius. Okay, so without waiting so much, I'll pass on the word now to Donald, who is going to give the presentation on Singapore and on Changi Airport. Donald.
Okay. Thank you, Raj. Thank you very much. In fact, the presentation will be done by Louisa, Manager, Changi Airport. Louisa, the floor is yours.
Thank you. A very good evening, everyone. Hi, my name is Louisa, and I'm from Singapore Changi Airport. Now, before I start my presentation, I'd like to first do a quick survey. Okay, how many of you have been to Singapore in the past 5 years? Okay, how many have been to Singapore in the past 3 years? Less hands. In the past 2 years? Okay, looks like not a lot of people have been to Singapore recently, huh? Okay, that's fine, which is why I'm here today, to share with you some information about Singapore, okay? So let's start off, for the benefit of those who have never been to Singapore before, I'm just going to give you some quick facts about Singapore. Now, Singapore is located in the heart of Southeast Asia. We're located very close to Malaysia and Indonesia, and we're a tiny little island around 710 square kilometers. In fact, if you take one end of Singapore to the other end, we're just 42 kilometers, right? So we're really a tiny little island, okay? Now on Singapore, we have a population of 5 million, and we are a multicultural society. We have Chinese, Malay, and Indian, but our common language is English, right? Which is why when visitors come to Singapore, they find it very easy to travel around because everyone speaks English, and all our signages are in English as well. So it's really easy to move around. In addition to, English, traveling in Singapore is really a breeze because we've got a good network of public transport. There are buses, trains, and taxis, which makes it really easy to move around Singapore as well. Now, in terms of temperature, Singapore enjoys a tropical climate throughout the year. We are around 25 to 31 degrees Celsius. In the end of the year, typically we're a little bit rainy, so if you don't want to come, during the rainy season, just avoid coming to Singapore during the end of the year period. Okay? Now, in terms of visitor arrivals to Singapore, it's been growing. Last year in 2012, we registered 14.4 million visitors arrivals in Singapore, and this was a 9% growth compared to 2011. Now, unfortunately, the full year statistics for visitor arrivals from Mauritius to Singapore is not out yet, but for the first 9 months of 2012, we had 6,916 visitor arrivals from Mauritius. Now, this was a 1% growth from 2011, but if you want to look at it from the full year, we had 10,527 visitor arrivals from Mauritius in 2011. Now earlier on, I mentioned that Singapore is a multicultural society. Well, this is reflected in our landscape and the different festivals that we celebrate throughout the year as well. So for example, if you are visiting Singapore, you must go to the temple in Chinatown. You must also visit the mosque in Kampong Glam, which is like our Malay village, and the Indian temple in Little India. Or, if you're in Singapore in the early part of the year, where we celebrate the Chinese Lunar New Year, you must visit Chinatown to take part in all the celebrations and activities during this festival. Or, if you're visiting during the middle part of the year or the end part of the year, you should visit Kampong Glam during Hari Raya and Deepavali, or visit Little India during Deepavali itself as well. Okay, now another thing you must do in Singapore is you must try our food. Singaporeans, we love to eat, and our food reflects our multicultural society, and also, our food are very unique to Singapore. So some of the must-eats, right, is the spicy chili crab, the chicken rice, the laksa, which is a little bit like curry with noodles, and the satay, which is actually barbecued meat dipped in peanut sauce. Now, as Raj mentioned earlier, you're very fortunate this evening. We'll be inviting you to dinner where you can sample all this Singapore cuisine, right? So stay on with us and don't leave after the presentations. Okay, the other things that are very unique about Singapore is things like the hawker center. Now, this hawker center is like a food court, but it offers, all the local food at very cheap prices. In fact, most Singaporeans eat at the hawker center 3 times a day for breakfast, lunch and dinner. So it's a really good place to go to try all the local food at very cheap prices. And in Singapore, you must also try our local kopi or teh. In Singapore, in Mauritius, you have your Mauritius tea. Well, in Singapore, we also have our unique coffee and tea. So when you come by, you must try this as well. So if you're more adventurous, you can also visit our wet market, our housing blocks and shop houses, and of course, do take a cruise on the bumboat on our Singapore River. Now, Singapore, in the past 2 years have changed quite significantly in terms of tourism offerings. A lot of new tourist attractions have opened up. So I'm just going to highlight to you some of these latest tourist attractions. Okay, one key area that's changed very significantly is the Marina Bay area. You can see here there are a lot of new things. Firstly, we opened up a Singapore Flyer in the Marina Bay area. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the London Eye in the United Kingdom, but this is similar as well, except this is bigger. In fact, the Singapore Flyer is the world's tallest observation field at 165 meters. And from the Singapore Flyer, you can see the whole skyline of Singapore, and on a good day, you can see Malaysia and even Indonesia. Right? Okay, another thing that takes place, around here is the Formula 1 night race. Now, this is the first circuit street race that takes place in the city center of Singapore. You can see here, this is actually the actual route where the cars will drive past. Right? So the cars will actually whiz past all the high-rise buildings in Singapore, and it takes place at night. Right? Now, this Singapore F1 Grand Prix takes place every year in September. This year, it will be from September 20th to September 23rd. Right? Now, usually around the F1 Grand Prix period, there will always be a lot of performances. So, for example, in the past year, we have had, celebrities like Beyonce, Katy Perry, and Mariah Carey. They will come to Singapore to perform during the Singapore Grand Prix. For this year, I believe the celebrity headlining the Grand Prix is actually pop princess Rihanna. Right, so how cool. Come and watch the race and watch Rihanna perform as well. Okay, another key development in the Marina Bay area is this Marina Bay Sands. Now, this Marina Bay Sands is actually an integrated entertainment center made up of hotels, which is the Marina Bay Sands Hotel, an art and science museum, expo convention spaces, as well as shopping retail. Here there's just more than 300 shopping and retail outlets at the Marina Bay Shoppies. Now, I just wanted to zoom in a little bit on the Marina Bay Sands Hotel here. You can see this is actually made up of 55-story hotel. There are a total of more than 2,500 rooms here, and right on the 57th floor here is actually joined by a 1-hectare sky park. And on this sky park, we have a swimming pool. And you can actually swim all the way to the edge here. Not sure you can see. You see where this chap is? No, he's not trying to jump off, but he's just, chilling out on the pool right on the 57th floor of the Marina Bay Sands Hotel. and taking a nice view of the Singapore skyline. Now, if you're not a hotel guest, you can also come up to the Sky Park for restaurant or party at the club right at the 57th floor as well. Now, nearby the Marina Bay Sands is the Gardens by the Bay. You can see actually over here, this is the Marina Bay Sands Hotel, and the Gardens by the Bay is just around here. The Gardens by the Bay is Singapore's largest garden. It's about 101 hectares or around 177 football fields. Right, now within the Gardens by the Bay, we have two conservatories over here. These are two conservatories. One is a flower conservatory and one is a cloud conservatory. And they'll showcase all the flora and fauna from all over the world. Now in the Gardens by the Bay as well, we have what we call here the super trees. This is how it looks like at night, and this is how it looks like in the day. Right, and these super trees will showcase some of the local flora and fauna, as well as it actually acts as like a gateway. You can actually walk through the super trees. Here you can see, so you can take a view of the whole Gardens by the Bay from the top as well. Now, entry to Gardens by the Bay is actually free. You just need to pay a small fee to enter into the conservatories over here. Okay, another popular destination in Singapore right now is the Sentosa Island. And people visit Sentosa Island for a lot of reasons, mainly for like a family getaway. They go to the beaches, they go to golf, and they go for spas. But most recently, a lot of people go to Sentosa for Resorts World Sentosa. Now, Resorts World Sentosa is actually an integrated resort, entertainment resort, comprising of hotels, shops, as well as Universal Studios Singapore and the Marine Life Park. Now, the Universal Studios Singapore boasts 24 attractions, including rides that are only distinct to Singapore. For example, the Transformers ride. You cannot find this Transformers ride anywhere else in the world but in Universal Studios Singapore. There is also the Marine Life Park, which I mentioned just now. It's the world's largest oceanarium. It's got more than 800 species of marine life. And within the park, it's actually divided into 10 zones with 49 habitats. So you can really see the marine life in their natural habitat. Now, on Resorts World Sentosa, they've also got a wide variety of hotels. So, for example, if you are coming with your family, you might want to consider staying at the Festive Hotel here, because they've got bigger rooms that cater for a family of 4. Or, if you're traveling with your partner for a romantic getaway, you might want to consider staying at a beach villa or the Hard Rock Hotel at Resorts World Sentosa. Okay, now the latest thing that opened in Singapore recently in March 2013 this year is the River Safari. Now this River Safari showcases all the wildlife in 8 different rivers from all over the world. So for example, it showcases wildlife from Mississippi River, Mekong River, the Nile, the Ganges, and even Yangtze River. In fact, right now the most popular thing in River Safari is the 2 giant pandas from China, and they're located in the Yangtze River section of the River Safari. So really, why visit all these rivers all over the world? Just come to Singapore, and you can see all of them here. Okay, cruising is getting immensely popular in Singapore as well. Over the years, a lot of cruise liners are basing their ships in Singapore. For example, Celebrity Cruises, Costa Cruises, Royal Caribbean, and Star Cruises. So what a lot of people do is they actually, come to Singapore and take maybe a 5-day cruise from Singapore to Malaysia, to Thailand, to Phuket. Or, they can sometimes take a 16-day cruise that starts from somewhere else but end in the Southeast Asian region, or specifically Singapore. Now, cruising has become so big in Singapore that last year we also opened a new Marina Bay Cruise Center over here. This is our new cruise center. And this cruise center is able to accommodate the world's largest cruise ships, such as your Oasis and your Voyager class cruise ships. They can take more than 5,000 passengers. So really, cruising is getting very popular in Singapore. Now, I'm not sure if I'm able to give you all the information on Singapore today, but if you need more information, please feel free to visit yoursingapore.com. Okay, now enough with my words. I'm just also going to show you a little video on Singapore as well.
Stop!
Shiok.
Okay, I hope you'll be really interested to visit Singapore after that video. Okay. Now, chances are, if you are coming to Singapore, or you're traveling via Singapore, you would be using Singapore Changi Airport, right? Which is why I'm here today, to also share with you some facilities at Singapore Changi Airport. For example, what could you do if you're on transit, or, is there Wi-Fi for your business traveler? Right? I will also share with you, why when you travel to Asia, you should use Singapore as your gateway to Asia Pacific. Now, the third thing I want to share with you as well, and I'm not sure whether you'll be interested, is how you could win Singapore $1 million. If my math doesn't get me wrong, that will be around 24 million rupees. Yes? Yeah, I'm not sure if you'd be interested in that, because if I had 1 million, I will be on a long holiday, a very long one. Okay, so let's start off with some quick facts on Singapore Changi Airport. Now, Singapore Changi Airport today is one of the 7 busiest airports in the world. Last year, we registered 51 million passengers. Now, did you know today in the world, there are only 7 airports that register more than 50 million passengers, and Singapore Airport is one of them. And secondly, just now I mentioned that in Singapore, we only have a population of 5 million. But yet at the airport, we have 51 million passengers. That's more than 10 times our local population. Right? This goes to show how popular our airport is with international passengers. Now, why do people like to travel via Changi Airport? Well, I think the first thing is our connectivity. Because from Singapore Changi Airport, you can link to more than 200 cities worldwide. So what this means is that, it's very easy to get from point A, Changi Airport, to another point. Be easily, you don't have to travel through another point and another point before you reach your final destination. So it's very convenient. And secondly, at Changi Airport, we've got more than 6,000 flights every week. In fact, for every 100 seconds, there is a flight taking off at Changi Airport. Right, so what this means is that chances are, if you miss a flight, you will be able to catch the same flight on the same day or the day after. Right, so it's very convenient, and I think this is very important for your business travelers because they're always very time pressured to get to their final destination on time. Now, if you zoom in a little bit more on our connectivity, you will see that we are very well connected to all the key countries in Asia, such as Australia. We're connected to the main 7 cities like your Sydney, your Perth, your Melbourne, your Brisbane. We're also connected to 25 cities in China. And here we're not just talking about your main metros like Shanghai, Beijing or Guangzhou, but also connected to the more smaller cities, maybe such as Xiamen, Xi'an and Hangzhou. So it's really very easy to travel from Singapore to Asia Pacific. Now, if you zoom in, a little bit about our connectivity to Southeast Asia, we're also a good gateway to use because a lot of these Southeast Asian destinations are around 2 to 4 hours from Singapore. So, for example, if you want to travel to Jakarta, to Manila, we've got lots of flights from Changi Airport to these points. And we're also connected to the smaller and upcoming cities in this region as well. So, for example, you've been to already Phuket, you've been to Bali, you've already been to Krabi or Koh Samui for your holiday, and you want to look for somewhere new. Changi Airport is also linked to new and upcoming beach destinations such as Boracay or diving destinations in Makassar and Manado as well. So it's really easy, to fly via Changi to all these destinations because they are just 2 to 4 hours away. Now, of course, a popular question I always get is, so, why don't I fly via Kuala Lumpur Airport or Thailand's Bangkok Airport? Well, if you look at the table here, you can see that in terms of weekly flights and city links, Changi Airport far exceeds that of Kuala Lumpur Airport and Bangkok Airport, which is why it's really convenient and easy to use Singapore Changi Airport as your gateway to Asia. Now, at this point, I'd just like to introduce everyone to this website called viasingapore.com. Now, this is a really useful website if you're planning for a trip to Asia. Now, I'm sure most of you are familiar with Ryanair in Europe, right, the budget carriers. Well, in Southeast Asia, we have a lot of budget carriers as well. So it's Jetstar Asia or Air Asia or Tiger Airways. What this website does is actually it lists down not only the airfares offered by full cost carriers but budget carriers as well. Now, as travel agents, you probably know that the budget carriers' airfares are not in the GDS system. So this website actually shows you all the airfares, even those by the budget carriers, so that you can plan according to your schedule and your budget accordingly. So this is a really useful website called viasingapore.com. Now, earlier on, I talked about how popular cruising in Singapore is. Well, at Changi Airport, we also try to facilitate this by a fly cruise service. So what you do is when you are arriving into Changi Airport, you just have to make your way to the fly cruise counter at Terminal 3, drop off your bags, check in, and you're free to move around before you board your cruise. And of course, after you come back from your cruise, you can fly back from Changi Airport. Now, this service currently is only available for Star Cruise passenger, and you have to just pay a small fee of around Singapore $33. Now, if you're not flying via Changi and neither are you cruising from Singapore, what a lot of people do is they also travel to Johor Bahru via Changi Airport. Some of you may know that Johor Bahru is very close to Singapore. In fact, it's linked by a causeway to Singapore. And there's been a lot of new developments down there. For example, there's a Legoland theme park, there's a Hello Kitty theme park. So at Changi Airport, we actually have a coach service that you could take to all the way to Johor Bahru. Right, so if you're in Singapore, you fly in Singapore and you want to do a day trip out to Malaysia, you could consider taking this bus to Johor Bahru as well from Changi Airport. Now, other than all the connectivity, the fly cruise services, the coach services, we also try our best to make you enjoy flying via Changi Airport. We have created a wide range of first-class facilities for you to enjoy at our airport. So, for example, if you are at Terminal 1, we actually have a swimming pool where you can take a dip in a pool before you catch the next flight out. Or, if you're at Terminal 2, we actually have a movie theater. Now, this is a free movie theater that you can bring your family to watch a movie before you catch your next flight out. Or, if you're a very tired traveler, you just want to get some fresh air, you can go to our butterfly garden at Terminal 3. Did you know at our Changi Airport we've got more than 1,000 butterflies living at our butterfly garden in Terminal 3? So this is a really nice place to go and take a fresh air and take a look at the flora and fauna as well as the butterflies before you catch your next flight out. Of course, other than that, we've also got, free internet access, iConnect kiosks, as well as lounges and transit hotels if you want to take a shower before you catch your next flight. Now, all three of our terminals at Changi Airport are linked by a free Sky train, which operates almost 24 hours. So it's very easy for you to move around all three terminals. And yes, shopping at Changi Airport. It's fantastic. Look at this is how our Terminal 3 looks like with all the retail shops inside. In fact, we've got over 300 retail outlets and more than 130 F&B outlets in both the public and transit areas of Changi Airport. I'll just like to highlight that some of these F&B outlets are actually 24 hours. So if you're catching a late flight out, you don't have to worry about being hungry because something's always open. Now, this is the part that everyone's been waiting for. How to win 1 million Singapore dollars. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you this lucky draw called Be a Changi Millionaire. Since 2010, Changi Airport has been organizing this lucky draw called Be a Changi Millionaire, where the grand prize is Singapore $1 million. So over here, you can see 3 very happy faces. These 3 are the people that will be made overnight millionaires since 2010. So for example, over here, you have an Australian. She was just traveling via Changi Airport. She spent some money, and she won 1 million Singapore dollars from us. Right? Now this lucky draw is open to anyone, so long as you spend some money at Changi Airport. And this year, we are organizing our 2013 Be a Changi Millionaire Lucky Draw as well. It's from 1st May to 31st October 2013. So the next time you're at our airport, you just need to spend about Singapore $30. Take part in this lucky draw, and you could be perhaps our first Changi millionaire from Mauritius. Now, if you are traveling, through Changi and you have more than 5 hours of transit time, you could also consider taking up the free Singapore tour. Now, this free Singapore tour is open to all passengers. All you have to do is sign up at Terminal 2 and Terminal 3, and the tour will bring you on a 2-hour tour of some of the latest attractions in Singapore, like Gardens by the Bay, Marina Bay Sands, Little India, Raffles Hotel, and then after the tour, they'll bring you back to the airport for you to catch your next flight out. Right? So this is a free service, and there are altogether 5 tours every day. There's one from 9, and then 11:30, 2:30, and 4, and as well as the City Light tours that start at 6:30 p.m. in the evening. Now, because of our facilities, our service over the years, we've become one of the world's most awarded airport. We've got more than 420 awards under our belt, and last year, Changi Airport even won the 2013 Skytrack Best Airport Award. Now I've come to the end of my presentation. I hope, I'll see you in Singapore and Changi Airport real soon. And please stay on and try our local food later, and good luck for the lucky draw too. Thank you so much. I'll just play one more video. Yeah, I'll just play one more video, okay? Okay.
Can a city transform and yet keep its charm and vitality?
I am the Garden City. I work, live, and play in a cosmopolitan community.
Can style and sense coexist in harmony?
I am a unique blend of tradition and modernity. I attract business excellence and leisure seekers.
Can there be more to discover in a young city?
I have grown to embrace more of life. I am a city in transformation. And I am the gateway to this transformation. I move in tandem with my city, your first experience of what is to come. I seek to serve with excellence, with humility and grace. That is what transformation means to me.
Can the magic of travel be captured all in one place?
Yes, because I am the new Singapore. Because I am Changi Airport, transforming together with my city.
And I'll now request Warren from La Bourdonnais Hotel, who is our partner. He'll speak about the Singapore week here in Mauritius. Warren, please.
Shiok. Too far. Yeah, after that very impressive presentation, I wish I'd gone first. Thank you all of you for joining us, and a very warm welcome from the Le Bourdonnais Waterfront Hotel. As introduced, my name is Warren Backus, the Food and Beverage Manager. Singaporean cuisine is a hugely interesting topic for me. It features a vast range of flavors developed over decades by a number of different cultures around the world. And as mentioned earlier, influences from the Chinese, Malaysian, Indian, and a bit of research shows a bit of Portuguese too, which is quite interesting. Each dish is really a journey of different flavors, different textures, and Asian cuisine over the years has become increasingly popular in a lot of European and Western cultures. It's become sort of a base in a lot of homes, and I believe it's purely due to the fact that it appeals to a broad range of palates. There's something for everybody. I think also the Europeans are getting a little bit bored of their bland food, and that they like to get a bit of a punch, which is the reason why Asian food, in particular Singaporean food, has become very popular. So teaming up with Executive Chef, we've got Chef Tan Young Ho. He's an award-winning chef from Singapore. I'm just going to read through some of his awards. It's quite impressive. He's won 1 gold and 2 silver medals in the 6th World Championship of the Chinese cuisine. He got the 3rd prize in the Chef RAS 2006 culinary competition, 3rd prize for the best seafood category in 2006 Singapore Food Festival, and gold medal during the 2003-2004 International Gourmet Hunt held in Singapore. So we're very proud to have Chef Tang working alongside us. Himself and Chef Nizam have worked very hard over the last couple of months putting together a very interesting buffet. Basically, the buffet is going to be run up until the 15th of June. It's going to be rotated over a 3-day period, so you can have the opportunity to come back in 3 days' time and experience a completely different cuisine. Also, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Changi Airport as well as Air Mauritius. Very proud to be part of the campaign and as a partner for the Mauritius leg. Also, a special mention to Prakash. Your support throughout all our food promotions has been greatly appreciated. So yeah, we look forward to seeing you in the restaurant. Look forward to having you this evening. The chefs are busy preparing now. We've got a great evening ahead, and hopefully someone can win the lucky draw. Thank you very much. Good to have you with us.
Right, if for the travel trade you want any clarifications, any questions, please. If no questions, because later you will be meeting all of them during the cocktail and dinner, so I'll invite the travel trade. Vina will bring them down for the cocktail. The press, if you can stay in the room, we'll have a short a brief or like a press conference, and then later we'll go and meet the travel trade. Thank you very much for your presence.